let me hear then about university, because that's another place.
Wow.
So you finished from 4.
University of Nairobi. So I finished fourth form on the 28th of November. I was working on the 4th of December.
28th of November.
I was employed on the 4th of December. Mrs. Mutoko was not letting me sit in the house. You do know where I grew up?
I love Mrs. Mutoko.
Do you know where I grew up? And by the way, this is hindsight.
Yeah.
I was bitter that everybody I knew was at home.
Chilling.
During
that whole gap year.
Yes. Me, I was working. Well, Anna Maingi was also working. She was at textbook center. And I think somebody else was working at a video store. So some of us were working, but the rest were chilling. Mrs. Mutoko was not seeing how her daughter atakuwa amekaa South B. Do you know what South B was like by the time I was 18? Manyanga nazo. Izo matatu. And our makangas used to wear kanai. Hey.
Timberlands.
And what? Lilianda job. And I used to go in the morning with her.
So your mom took you to work with her?
So we'd leave in the morning together. So I can bring myself home.
So this was literally your first job?
First job. I was on Baricha Road, where Homeboys Radio used to be, actually, where Choices used to be, right across. Used to be a company. It was then called Kirinyaga Works. It then morphed to Multi-Options. But when I went to work there, it was a printing and stationery firm.
That's what you were up to?
I answered the phones. I did cash sales. I took overtime cards because the guys who worked in the printing press would fill in the time they come in. Wakifanya overtime, I calculate it because there was a yes, ndio tuwalipe. And then when I started being trusted a bit more, I delivered invoices and statements, and I pick up checks. That's why I tell people, maybe I could not say it before. Me as a messenger. Do you know who was the first person to call me a messenger to my face?
Who?
Sam Cholet. Sam, I hadn't seen Sam. So those who do not know, Sam worked for a company called Gestetna, just up the road from Baricha Road. And, years go by. I mean, please, years go by. I'm a big honcho now at KISS 100. I'm helping Gladys Boss Cholet put together a new voters register. Okay. For some reason, she invites me home and she calls her husband and says, Sam, come, I introduced you to this girl I've been telling you about. So Sam comes up and says, you are that small messenger. And he called me that small messenger. Because I think he was, and he can correct me, I think he was either the financial controller, but so I would deliver invoices to him and he would give me the check. So that, he remembers me from that.
That's crazy. But there's something you've said that I cannot skip over. And you may have, and this is why I wanted to sit down with you, just so that it's the small things for me in CTA that are the magic. For example, you said, when they started trusting me more.
Yes.
So that's what led to, and essentially, you being promoted to more responsibility.
And more responsibilities was, I didn't just collect the checks, and then I took them for banking.
What made them trust you more? For example, there's a young...
I guess how I did my work. I think you will always be given more depending... It's a story in the Bible of the talents. What you do with what you're given is what allows people to trust you with more. So I started doing the banking. Oh, by the way, banks used to close at midday or something ridiculous like that. And hello, carbon paper. Because remember, so I'd fill out, and then go and, and I'd also come back with the cash. Because remember, we have to pay people. The people we paid on a daily basis.
You're 20-something.
Yeah, no!
You're in the teens, late teens.
I was going to be 18.
Whoa. Okay.
And then I could get an ID and go to university. Remember, we used to have a full year. Yes.
And also, big thing, you got your first paycheck.
Hey, now.
Let's talk.
I was making a cool 1.5. Boss. First, the hair was permed. My father was very clear, and my mother as well. We are not perming hair. Because hair also, permed hair comes with retouch. That's a 3-month cost or whatever it is that used to be done then. So first and foremost, nyele katengenezwa. Alafu nikajipeleka Reinsurance Plaza. Nikanunua skirt suits za nguvu.
Skirt suits?
What? I need to look like a working lady. What is wrong with you?
Can be we are washing.
Yes, but also I did shopping kidogo ya nyumbani. My mother was very diligent about some of these things. And like I said, it's software. So, you'd be told, when do you nanua? Maziwa. Ama, you're the one who's buying bread.
Yeah.
But it feels a certain way when you're the one who, you're told, maziwa imeisha. And my mother would say, ambia Caroline.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So there was that.
So how long were you at this place?
Until I went to the university. But every time we had a closure, they took me back.
They took you back?
They took me back.
You just go like, listen guys,
I'm back. They were like, come. I mean, Shamir Desai, I know Shamir's father-in-law, Mr. Jai, passed away some time back. Mr. Jai was such an amazing part of my growth. He taught me how to do proper accounting. I need to say this, Muindi style. Proper.
Yeah.
Blue pen, red pen, ledger. Yeah, so, I still meet people who are like, did you just read? I can read a P&L like that. And it's because I had proper training. But from a person who did it, the two columns must balance, And I'm like, when you're doing an MBA, somebody's like teaching you that, you're like, where have you people been? It's very strange. Shamir was completely the opposite of his father-in-law. He was a lot more flamboyant. Yes. But even in that, he would take me to meetings. Like when he's going to try and get an organization to buy furniture, because he brought in the furniture side of the business, office furniture. I'd go to those meetings. So here's the thing, I think I'll read.
18?
At 18, 19, there's closure at the University of Nairobi, stone throwing back. I even found out where the chief's place was in Mukuru, because we had to get another form stamped. But
here's the thing.
Here's the thing, and for every young person who today gets a job, it doesn't matter where it is, take it.
Own it.
Take it, because the network you end up forming, because you go to a meeting, and then you go to 2 meetings, 3 meetings, and people remember you. I remember for the longest time, and this is just moving forward, when I didn't want to go back to multi options.
Yes.
I worked for Rufo Gaetano.
Next job,
and I'm still in university.
Yep.
And I also say this: you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with. None of the girls I hang out with when I was at the university did not work. Us guys had tunes. And then Lilian Karuri is the one who, hi Lilian Karuri Magero, she's the one who introduced me to Lindsay at Surazuri. It was money. It's a job here, it's a TV commercial. But I say this, I've always had money. I've never been broke.
And you've always worked as well.
I've always worked. I've never said no to work because it didn't look cool. So I don't understand. Nataka kazi nzuri.
And also, what I'm hearing, that work at this time has nothing to do with this.
Where I'm going, So I remember I was interviewed by Sam Y, and at the time it was a collection. So it was Trattoria, which is still there.
Yep.
There was Laura Blue, known as Foresta, at Corner House, and they had visions. So even there were days
in
the club.
Oh.
So there were days my day did end at about 10 p.m. because I would go to 2 visions with Rufo. And as the crowd comes in, people are settled, then it will be time to go home, because now the guys who run it will run it.
Yep.
But I started off by putting the specials menu in the sleeves. You start off doing that.
Yep.
And you do this nonsense called high table 4, and you seat people. And then when I'm done with lunch at Trattoria, I'll go home and rest, and then be back by 4:30 for evening coffee at Foresta. Okay? And so when people tell me, you walk around in heels, I'm like, chick, I did this when I was working. Yeah, so I was
moving,
yes.
working, not just in.
But it's not just that. I mean, I meet random people who say, I remember you once served me coffee. And let me tell you something. Be good to people in service. And honestly, and I used to laugh, Bob and I used to laugh about this, Bob Collymore.
Yeah.
Because I used to say, because I've worked in service, I get good service because I understand how you work with people.
Yep.
By the time I complain about your service, you're really bad. No, you're really bad. And Bob made me laugh and say, no, actually, I always get good service. If I get bad service, then it is really bad. I said, it's because I understand the industry. So I said, no, because I expect good service. But I have worked with people who I still run into today at the Carnivore, at Zen Garden, who remind me we worked together. I don't know whether he's still there. My head chef when I was at Trattoria was a big guy called Mategea. And I remember walking into Jacaranda Hotel a couple of years ago. He hears him around. He comes to look for me and says, "Habari yako?" Just the way he used to be when I used to tell him something is late in the kitchen and you don't mess with him. I'm like, oh God, he's going to finish me. And he's like, mina kumbuka msichana. Niko na watoto. But it's so nice to know that I went through that phase of my life. And all I left behind is people were like, I know her. We worked together.
Let me hear a little bit about uni. One thing that I know about uni is help. Because you're like, I remember you saying, I'm done with help though.
Hey!
So like explain this uni side now.
Okay, so you go to the University of Nairobi.
So you get called to university?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I am required to go and, of course, pay homage first, to Professor Mbidi because my mother knew him personally.